Alright folks, this video we're going to talk about the basics of a punch, how to throw a punch, starting from the very beginning with the fist and also talking about some fundamental theories or some very critical ones that go along with what we're always trying to maintain, the integrity of it and of the punch and stuff like that. I figured I would do it right here in my hallway because to keep in the spirit of you don't need a tremendous amount of room, and also it's good to practice in areas that you don't have a lot of room. Don't get comfortable that you have all of the space as well, you know. And this way it's sometimes part of that is it focuses a little bit more on the technique. It focuses a little bit more on the mechanics within here rather than recklessly thinking that you can just, you know. So but ultimately we practice in all types of environment and all types of conditions, correct? Throwing the punch, it comes further down the line. It comes with heaps of theory, heaps of technical ideas and theories and stuff like that, and mechanics involved. But also there is a side of it that is not overly complicated, and so making the fist. There's this whole, maybe in the movies, I don't know if it was Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris. That wasn't Enter the Dragon, was it? No. Another with Bruce Lee, and I don't know where he fought Chuck Norris, and I don't know if they do that fist, and sometimes in other movies too you see them where they do this fist and they curl the knuckles in, and I know that I'll be out of the camera frame a little bit, whatever, so we're going to get into this dramatic pose as well. But you see, they curl this in first, then curl that. Do not do that, okay? You could try it, okay? So basically you could try it. Basically you're making all that knuckles flat like that, okay? Then you're curling them in again, all right? But when you do it and try it, you'll do it, okay? You'll feel, I'll get the perfect way to explain to you, okay? You'll feel the pads of your fingers, okay, pushing one way while your nail remains stable or pushing the other way. So you'll feel like somebody's lifting up on your nail. You'll feel that feeling. It won't feel good, and it's not ideal. You'll feel the extra stress over here and stuff like that. It's a bullshit fist. I don't know. I'm sure some people's fingers or whatever, or maybe they think they're doing that, but eventually what it really does is you're just finding a comfort zone in the pad, okay? And you're getting that in there, and it's almost so that it's almost the perfect point where the pads, your nail, if you don't have long nails or nails that are even with your pads of the fingertips or whatnot, then that's fine. Then we're just talking about your fingertips. But one way or another, okay, you have your palm here, and it just finds this comfort zone. It's not an exact science of where it is, but if it's too much, you're doing this. You see the flat? See how it gets flat? So if it's too much, you're doing that, and all versions of that you can try. It's almost like now, it's almost like, imagine this is one fist, it's almost like you're pressing. See, you're pressing on it, and all some versions are pressing. At some threshold, at some moment in the palm, okay, you're going to reach a point where you're going to stop pressing, and they're going to curl, and they're going to lock. They're going to curl and meet that run point. You don't want to curl too much. You'll find that comfort zone, and it'll be the comfort zone for you to also make a tight fist. Open and close it, and play with it, and find that one that you're going to find for the fist, okay? Once you find that you can work all of that a lot and still just keep, okay, when you do, and still just keep the thumb out, and when you do, you just want to wrap that thumb, okay? You've probably heard it before, it's not this, okay? And you may see some fighters doing this or whatever. It's a habit, and also sort of like, it comes a lot from boxing gloves and stuff. At least from my experience and what I do using boxing gloves, and when you use a wrap or whatever, the way your fist is, it's not like the way your thumb is, not like that. It comes a little bit more off to the side, and the same when you're in boxing gloves. So that's why sometimes you'll see these you know, you'll see with the thumbs, because that's it. Because when you're wearing the boxing gloves, especially the larger sizes, I mean, if you're going to be 8 ounce gloves, you might have a little bit more, but maneuverability to mimic a fist, sort of, okay? And also depending on how worn your gloves are and whatnot. And now a lot of boxing gloves, they come with that little stitch strap that keeps the thumb stable with the rest. So you can't actually, it's not independent the thumb. It's actually connected a little bit and stuff like that. So you wind up like that in your glove. That's not what you're doing here, okay? You're taking, and then you're doing a nice wrap around and play with it until you feel comfortable. You should sometimes, you have to reset. It should be to a certain point where you can make it, and then you could squeeze so hard, okay? And I'm telling you that they suddenly become these solid things, and that you feel you can almost punch through anything, and you may destroy your fist during and after, but you still will punch through it as well, because it just becomes this. It becomes this solid stub. It becomes like a blunt object, right? Like a stub, like a solid stub. It becomes like that. Stuff. When you're practicing and things like that, we've talked about this, I've talked about this numerous times, right? When we're practicing and stuff, be careful that when you're focusing so much attention, you're getting loose. You're getting loose. I like to practice both. That's our goal, right? We practice so many styles or whatever. So yeah, of course, but be able to transition properly, right? Because if you don't transition properly and you smack and you punch people with weak and not solid fists and stuff like that, you're going to do a lot of damage to your own fist. Guaranteed. And stuff like that. Okay? Okay. So we've been talking about the fist. Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about the basic punch, starting from how to make the fist and some of the fundamental elements and fundamental natures involved with the fist and the punch and stuff. So again, let's do a recap. Okay, you're not doing some super ultra fancy type of thing. You're just gonna wrap these fingers, okay, and you're gonna bunch them up, and you're gonna try to meet somewhere in the middle of your palm or somewhere in that comfort zone, okay, and then once you reach in that zone, you're gonna go fairly tight and in that zone to begin with. So it's not a case where you can just put it nice. You could sort of, you know what I mean? You could play with it, but once you reach in that zone, then you can finish it off by then actually clinching and going extra tight and stuff like that. And you find your comfort zones. Then you wrap your fists in there and you wrap your thumbs in too. Like I said before, it's not rocket science and it's not overly complicated. Ultimately, you're going to be the best. You're going to be the best judge of what you have and the way it feels and stuff, and you'll know. And so you could. There's all types of, right? And these are all little tricks you can test yourself, okay? I can make it, and I can keep the meter, so maybe go a little bit slow. But the point is, after a while, you can do this type of drill. It's a type of drill, okay? And what it is I'm not going to take forever trying to figure out this whole configuration. I have a meter, like, 1 and 2, or same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever. You have your meter. Okay, and to make that fist and then to hit. So you got to make that fist, so you got the good structure, okay, and it's also tight. And then you can do your hit, right? So that's the fist. Some fundamentals, okay, and once again we're going to be doing these stances and stuff like that, and we're actually going to do a video on stances and stuff. I may actually touch on it here because it is important to understand your fundamental stances to throw the punch, okay? But ultimately we understand that our ultimate goal is to not be limited in any position and to be able to strike from almost any position or any position. That's a great goal. So we're not limited and stuff like that. So in this particular case right now, I'm in this stance because I understand that the frame is, so we're playing with a limited type of, so I'm making sure that I'm in there and stuff like that. Don't matter too much, so my head might get clipped and my feet, whatever, but that's not, because the important thing is that you see the fist. So, fundamentals, there's a whole bunch of places to start. Proper fundamentals that we're always trying to maintain, even though there are elaborations and modifications, and sometimes, sometimes it's just involuntary. Nothing is perfect. You're scrambling around and stuff like that. And what's the word that I keep? When you wind up getting into a skirmish, right? So it's unpredictable, and a breakout, and the skirmish breaks out and stuff. And so you're grabbing, defending, and then also, and a lot of times with adrenaline and stuff like that, by the end of the night, even if it's sparring for fun, you're going to realize after, you're going to feel some shocks, and you may feel some shocks, you may feel some pains, and that's when you're going to start to realize a couple of things. Possibly the areas that you struck, and also the form that you had when you did the striking and stuff. And you'll know when it's loose and stuff like that. Okay, when your fist is loose and stuff, what happens is it's very similar to this. Okay, very similar. You're going to get a crushing. This is going to push in and crush. Okay, it's going to crush. When you're actually balled in, it's like your fingers are against the wall. They can't go anymore. When you're not balled in or it's weak, they fold in and they get crushed. So, okay, general rules, overall rules and stuff like that on your strikes is you're not looking to do anything extreme. Anything that breaks or crosses or is an ineffective angle or plane between the fists and the forearm, the wrist area and the forearm, that plane and stuff like that. Anything that's too much, if you're not dedicated in your punch and hit, it also rolls on you. And then again, you get the terror. You could go all the way from a break to sprains and strains, ligament tears and stuff like that. But in a lot of normal cases, you're going to get some swelling on the joint, and you're going to get like that tendonitis feeling. There's these little shocks and stuff, and you'll realize that you're hitting poor. The same goes for a heavy bag. People wrap the wrists to do that, but in life, okay, and in self-defense, which a lot of this is geared for as well, and helping us in self-defense, you're not going to have wrist wraps and all this great ideal stuff like that. So we're learning to hit on certain planes as well, and we don't want to. So we're trying to avoid this stuff, trying to avoid all the rolls. One way, two basic ways to avoid that: proper angles, proper planes, keeping, but also tight. Now there's a threshold of being so tight and tense that you're restricting yourself and stuff, and this is why looking at yourself in a mirror and stuff is just, but it's sometimes it's a bit counterintuitive, because we think I need to hit hard. So what do you mean be relaxed? And logically, at some point I must not be relaxed, right? At some point I must be, okay? But we're allowing a lot of mechanics and physics to do their work and stuff. All you have to do in one sense, excuse me, all you have to do is be the coordinator. All you have to do is coordinate. Okay? So what's happening is we're allowing the physics and the mechanics to do their magic, So in one sense, you're the coordinator. So you're coordinating, right? And you're just maintaining, like the captain and stuff like that. You don't have to be overly thinking of that. Just trust the process of the throw, of the proper mechanics of your body and stuff like that. And in that sense, you don't have to think that you just have to, I gotta gear up and just smack the thing really hard. So we talked about starting the fist, getting that feel, open and close it and keep practicing, okay, getting decently tension, and then when you get that nice position right there, then you finish it off, and you may have to do a little bit of open, like close, and you finish it off, and now you got something tight. Okay, your next thing is you're trying to understand the planes. Okay, many positions, many angles are effective, from to this, to the twisting ones, to striking here if you do here, and in types of sparring and self-defense, you're probably hardly going to be thinking about it, so that's why. So one of the best things we can do is keep at least a tight fist and stuff. So another mistake, or a thing that often happens, it may not be a mistake, I actually use this type of motion or whatever, sometimes I use it or whatever, and that's when we hit, okay, we then drag, we make, and then we drag down, okay, and you drag down when you, but the point is, because we're dropping our hands on the comeback, on the draw back and stuff, so when you're striking something, okay, now when you're practicing, and if you feel a little scrapes or something is going wrong, when you're hitting the heavy bag and you're noticing you're getting a lot of cuts and stuff in your hand, even if you're wearing some gloves and stuff like that, okay, one of the reasons could be, often is, and often it's a combination, but one of the reasons is you're dragging. So you're hitting and then dragging when you're pulling off and stuff like that. Actually could be a cool technique to use and stuff, and if used properly, it's also, there's downward ones, there's upward ones, and there's hits that are meant to push your opponent in certain directions and the guard down as well. So they certainly can. But we're starting out, so we're trying to understand the best starting out with that textbook or whatever, okay, is maintaining a plane, whatever that plane is, maintaining that hit, and it's the drive through on that. Before you start learning the hit and then the turn and the hit and the twist up and stuff like that. No, of course, those are also occurring from different style punches as well. Different kinds of punches and stuff like that, not just style, or can we use the word style or whatever, but different punch techniques, different punches, man, like the uppercut and the hook involve some different things and stuff. So one of the best ones that we're going to learn about, of course, is the straight. They call the your lead foot, the one that's in front or whatever. Okay, that's your lead, obviously the lead one. Okay, and this is the cross, your power shot, right? So, and there's different angles and stuff that you can play with on your punch. It doesn't have to, okay, so sometimes in a slang or whatever, we call it the straight. We call it the straight. You could learn by the textbook and stuff like that, but I cringe a little bit if all you ever do is stick to the textbook, because it becomes a certain point when the body wants to break out of that mold, and people get this really bad habit of thinking that modifications or whatever are bad or whatever, and sometimes they are, possibly, not ideal or whatnot. So, but I noticed that there becomes a threshold where they're forcing and they're suppressing their development. They're kind of forcing their body to maintain that, to the whole thing. And there's another one, okay? And you get that little foot coming up as well and stuff, and you get all this stuff, and it's like no leaning, whatever. Keep, that's it, and just smacking back. I could put a book on my head, right? That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, so long as you're incorporating other stuff as well, because there's no way that your body naturally is going to stay in that position in situations of self-defense, in unpredictable mayhem type situations. But it can help. It certainly, and I love starting out at the textbook and then breaking. It's a great foundation for. I've done it, and so. Okay, so what we're doing is we're talking about some essential fundamentals to the punch. We haven't even started with the mechanics of throwing the punch yet, but we've already touched on some important stuff. So you should be take time every day when you're learning. You should have a little bit of and you should have a little bit of practice with this stuff. I'm not saying that you should do these big sessions every single day, but so once a week, here and there, 5 minutes. Sometimes I tell people just 5 minutes every day at some point. Okay, just because if you don't make a fist, like I said in my other video or whatever, okay, if you never practice this or this or this or any of this, you're not going to be able to do it well, and it's not fair to expect your body to just jump into it, whatever. And the only way you're going to get better at doing something like that is by actually practicing it. 5 minutes a day, 1 minute, a couple of minutes, just use it as part of your stretches, because that's what I certainly do sometimes as part of my stretches. Take your hands and try to stretch them as much as possible out, and then bring them in as much as possible, and then try to make them as tight as possible. And then you can also play with your angles and stuff on your rotations of your wrists, all to build up and stuff, and it's great. And then release again, then go soft again and stuff, and then massage and get the blood flowing back and okay. Very critical, fundamental to our punching. A theory. Obviously, we learn one of the ideals or one of the fundamentals, and then all of the modifications and the versions come along with it and stuff like that. I don't want people to stick to it strictly. I want them to also understand their body and what the body is saying and what the body wants to do. But we do need to understand some of the fundamentals, and one precise point, okay, of this is you have a certain plane with your shoulders, okay? When you throw the punch, right, there's going to be a type of twisting or whatever, and so you're going to see the plane. Think of the shoulders as a plane, okay? It's coming out a little bit. Catch yourself, and you're saying, well, I'm too tense. I'm not doing it right, okay? I shouldn't be bunched up and because I'm this again. So you got to get out, and one way to do that is shadow boxing and stuff, and just going through the motions and stuff, and you might see, and you could feel or whatever, be conscious of it, or have a mirror and just say, whoa, let go, and then and it's very similar, and it's very part rhythm, okay, and dancing 100%. But what better way than to have sort of that, the pleasure of having the dance, having your dance element, but at the same time incorporating a self-defense to it as well. Fundamentally, what we're talking about when we see that plane is a little bit over fine. If I cross the threshold too much, I start to break this ideal. I start to break a range of ideal or efficient or effective balance and stuff. It's as simple as that. And along with that comes the effectiveness of the punch as well. So. But first and foremost, we talk about, so if I overreaching and stuff, I'm losing my balance and stuff. I'm already leaning over, and I can be easily manipulated and stuff as well. So if somebody throws a punch and you just step to the side a little bit, or as they're throwing to the punch, right, and you just hit or deflect or defend. Okay, you'll just be leaning, you'll just be flying. You have a chance of toppling over or stumbling over and losing your balance, as opposed to just being deflected and still being able to defend. Okay, you shouldn't be blocked or deflected a bit and go spiraling to the floor. That shows us that your form, your stance, or something is wrong, or that you just overextended. There's no sin in that, because there's a threshold, and we need to explore that. There's a threshold of a certain extension is going to give you more power. It's possibly a follow-through, a bunch of things and stuff like that. But it also may be just because it's poor habit, whatever. So you don't want to overextend. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can see shoulder levels, and these shoulder levels, okay, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, they don't have to be perfect. They may not be perfect normally, but you'll notice the differences in them, okay, when you're overextending or whatnot. You'll see the difference, and that will be one indication. Two, you could see it just by looking down. You could feel it. You could see there's a certain now in some martial arts, they're really strict, so they don't want you to, okay, don't want you to cross that barrier and stuff. And so that's cool to learn, okay, but but at the same time, okay, there's reality, and there's other situations. And although after at a very higher level, you could still incorporate that. You certainly can. But for a long time or whatever, I don't know if you're just gonna, I don't know what kind of self-defense, street fight or skirmish type of thing. If you're just thinking you got a one-off, it's a standoff and it's an argument, and we're starting to rant and ramble again. And it's only, but so if you just want to, sure, you can get away with it. But if you're on a square off, whatever, and you're sparring, this type of, okay, you feel it out. There is no right or wrong. There is no true limitation. If you can do it, if it feels and it happens, whatever, then it happens. Awesome, fantastic, and stuff like that. So yeah. So you're throwing a punch. You don't want to come out too much. It's too much. It's too much. That's it's not effective and stuff. Also, in the sense that you're going to be way slow, extremely vulnerable, open to heaps of stuff, and if you're going to come all the way out like that and then come all the way back like that, that's not okay. So there's semi hits and follow throughs, and there's snaps and back and drawing back and stuff like that. As you can imagine, and I've talked about this in other videos, and you're going to be able to find them in the How To Now section. You'll find the heaps and stuff like that. There's a lot of rotation going on and stuff. Okay, this is why I try to wear something a little bit short and tight so that you can sort of see it, but you can, right? So there's a lot of, now one of the fundamental things, one of the big debates or whatever was for boxing, and boxing was shoulder. It's what the martial arts guys used to say. Boxing was all shoulder, and the martial arts did a little bit more from the core, a little bit more from the hips, and stuff like that. Yeah, but you know what? There's a whole tremendous range of techniques to the punch and stuff like that. Should utilize them all, and martial arts shouldn't be closed-minded to. And there's always a little bit of shoulder involved, even on a martial art one. And there's rotations in a boxing one. There's also rotations. When you combine it, then you're in the best of both worlds. You're not limited or to thinking that, oh, it's all. But yeah, but at least traditionally or overall, yeah, the boxing punch has a lot more shoulder involved in it. Okay, at least, and I can speak for Taekwondo. I can speak for a couple of martial arts, but karate and stuff like that as well. But in Taekwondo, yeah, so they want the torque. They want a torque. Okay, a twisting, and it's a torque, and it's a rotation from the hips. So it's not just okay, but when you combine them and stuff, and that kind of, so, or you can just, and the way it is you feel that, you feel a lot less, okay, so you're just throwing more, or in a slang sense, they say, oh, it's all arm. Or the punch was mostly all arm. It's not right and wrong and stuff like that, but obviously if you're going to have your core involved, you're going to get your legs a little bit more spread, you're going to get a rotation in it, you have a better chance of having a much more effective punch, an effective strike and stuff like that. So, you're going to start with your stance, the type of punch you want. You're going to be able to just tell me that you're hanging out at a club, okay? The way to find your different stances and stuff. Tell me that you're just waiting for a train. You're by the bus stop. You're queuing on a line. How you would stand. All the different stances you would have like that. Sometimes we do the ones where we have a little bit more weight on one leg than the other, and then you would switch, right? Well, then those are also the stances that you need to. Okay, they might not be ideal or whatever, but at least in your shadow boxing, that's how you start with those. And then there's going to be also the intentional one that we're going to identify, and that's called your sparring stance. Practice your sparring stances on either side. So I'm not even going to bother asking you what's your strong one, what's your weak hand, what's your lead or whatever. You should practice and get a feel for both sides of them, whatever. And stuff like that. I'm not one of those people who thinks you should just load up on one side. I mean, it also causes a lot of trouble. If you're going to throw thousands of punches and you're only going to throw half because this is your weaker one or whatever, you also run more risk of injuries. I don't like the way everything develops and stuff. I just like to be a little bit more balanced and stuff like that. And for efficiency and ultimate or an ideal situation, what if you hurt your hand? What if you hurt your arm? What if this arm wasn't available? What if you were protecting somebody on this one and stuff? So you're telling me that this is now you're just, massively limited? Well, you should probably practice a little bit more on both sides and stuff like that. Ambidextrous is the way. You don't have to be naturally ambidextrous, but you should definitely at least get comfortable. You should be proficient enough to defend yourself with either side. So, shoulder, your feet are going to, generally speaking, shoulder width apart. Okay, so feel it. If it's too much or whatever, you can feel. Just jump, hop as well, and you get to the. So now what you're doing is your feet. Okay, the feet are going to. They're sort of going to do 45s or whatever. So imagine the goal is still we're facing forward. Okay, but we're rotating the feet. And then also you're kind of bringing this one back a little bit. So you're at like a 45. Okay? I don't want you to think that there's a perfect ideal. I don't want you to think it has to be rotate on the plane, then keep this out. You see how it's corded in? No, man. Just get the basic idea, okay, of some width apart, that's about shoulder width apart, something like that. I like to do lift up and back down, and your feet will naturally kind of move to a more, you feel that, let's say I was doing this and I was keeping my feet together. You feel that you're intentionally trying to continue to kind of make that happen, at least at a certain point, okay? But if you're looking to just kind of spread them a little bit and then let them lift up and down again, and they'll kind of start gravitating and consistently falling to a comfortable space spread area for you. Now you want to do 45. For now, if it helps you, look at your body 45 too. See how my body is 45 as well? Sort of a 45-ish degrees, probably even a little less than 45. Once again, it's up to you. You mix and match and play, and you probably will occupy a range between the straight. Okay, so we're what, 180 and whatnot, and 45s or whatever, and then 90. So this would be 90. Okay, so, right? And the leg, okay, and the leg goes back a little bit. Once again, after a while, you'll have many different versions of how far back it goes. The wider or the more larger or dedicated your stance is, okay, there's pros and cons. The less mobile you can be as far as moving out of your stance in a way. But you can still do things, but the more power and the more conviction you can get out of certain moves and stuff like that. And obviously, the fact that you're much more stable and stuff, but at the price of at the price of it not being so easy for you to transit out into another one. You're going to have to somehow, okay, move yourself into that leverage and stuff, generally speaking. But these are at a certain level, split seconds, but that's at least the fundamentals, theories that we're talking about with the stance and stuff like that. Okay? So yeah. So that's your look straight, okay? Then I've do sort of like a 45, okay? Now I look back straight again. So, okay, I spread about shoulder width, okay? Then I do 45 like that, and then, okay, there's all different ones where it can be out here, and that can lead you out a little bit more, okay? There's ones where crossed up, okay? You might not do this all the time or whatever. There's pros and cons to every single one of these and stuff, because that's much easier. Obviously, I'm telegraphing a little bit, but much easier to do a turnaround, much easier to do certain things, but you can also play with it. And then there's one that's so it's sort of like, okay, so it's sort of, the feet are sort of, meeting on the same plane, but they're not identical, so it's not like they're on two pieces of wood or whatever, but they're somewhere close. Hop around, back and forth like that, go back and forth and shuffle, and you'll find your comfort zone. And that's it, okay? And there it is. I'm not asking you to now do this and square up, so you're still going to be a little bit, but enough to be like that. Chin tucked down a little bit is a classic type of theory. Why? Okay, well, one, because you're trying to avoid this this isolation. You're tucking down and you're being a little bit more within here. Traditionally, we're trying to avoid the chin because the chin strikes are such a drastic, end point from here to here that you're going to get a massive, and you tend to get easier knockouts unconscious from hits like that or whatever. So you try to protect that. It also protects the neck. As we start to get into more and more, and you can get the shoulder roll in and as well, and it's just whatever. But yeah, sometimes because the body follows the head, it leads with the head and stuff. And if you get into this habit of you know what I mean? You get into this habit, you lead with this, and you can try it yourself. You see less, you feel less of it. We're disconnecting from it. And it's sort of like, and it becomes even more, and you see these like, and it becomes... Okay, we'll get into more about the actual punch mechanic or whatever, but we're running out of time right now, ladies and gentlemen, and it's been such a pleasure and such fun and stuff. So from there, with your stance, your balance, your fist, or whatever, okay, without overextending, it should naturally just lead to, okay, try the strike. And I do this all the time. I have these things set up, okay, and try the nice and gentle, but it still can have a decently tight fist, okay. Try that, not too much. Okay, and it's not done till it comes back. Okay, it's not done till it comes back. Watch out with that, and try. Boom, 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 boom. Just watch all my other videos and stuff like that, and you'll be fine. It's going to come natural. It's not rocket science. It's natural. It's a great tradition. Okay, our ancestors, we've been doing this for eternity and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful part of walk around the house and baby, don't you say that it's over, yeah. Down the hall, like it's just part of dancing, but incorporate it a little bit into your self-defense and stuff like that. And flow. And after a while, you can do this for a half an hour and stuff like that. And sing if you want. That's great for your respiratory as well, but also doing a lot of... And you could just refer to all. So we'll get back to that and we'll touch on the actual mechanics of the punch one coming up soon.